Hello, and welcome to another Ask Us Anything live with me, Kate R, for Intrepid English. Every Friday, I go live and I talk about a grammar point, a pronunciation point, a vocabulary point, a question that one of our students had in English, or something I think that would be really useful for you, the English learner. So last week, I started talking about some essential phrasal verbs to use in your everyday English. And this is because we will always use, the native speaker will always use the phrasal verb rather than the traditional Latin or Germanic verb. So for example, I will always say, one of the phrasal verbs I'm going to cover today is fill in. So I would always say, fill in a form. I would never say complete a form. Okay, it's possible to say to complete a form, there's nothing wrong with it, but the native speaker will naturally use the phrasal verb. So it's really important to learn phrasal verbs and use them. And they are really difficult because they are a verb and a preposition and it changes the meaning. So the best thing to do is when you find a new phrasal verb is to write a good example that you will use yourself when you are speaking in English. So last week I covered the first 10 because I'm going to be talking about the 40 really essential phrasal verbs to learn today. I covered the first 10 last week, so please check out that video. And next week I will continue. But today we're going to be looking at the phrasal verbs with come, cut, fall, and fill. So let's get started. So the first one is to come across. So to come across something or someone is to meet or find something or someone by chance, yeah, not expected. So I came across this interesting fact the other day, and I think it will really fascinate you. That's one example. I'd like you to come up with your own example afterwards. And there you see, I use the second phrasal verb, which is to come up with something. So that is to suggest or think of an idea or plan. So as I said, I'd like you to come up with your own example. So I'd like you to think of your own example. Again, I use come up with more naturally than I do think of. You can also say she's come up with an amazing idea on how to double her income. The next phrasal verb is to come in. Now, the phrasal verb, okay, means to arrive somewhere. So for example, the train is coming in now. News is coming in right now of the terrible riots that are happening. That's to come in. The next two phrasal verbs are using the verb to cut. So the first one is to cut somebody off. That is to interrupt someone when speaking. For example, he cut me off mid-sentence. It's very annoying and very rude. It can also be to stop the supply of something. So their water supply was cut off. Cut in is very similar. It's again to interrupt somebody, but whereas cut somebody off is that you are stopping that person from speaking. To cut in is really that you're interrupting a conversation. Another way of saying it is to butt in or to push in. It's when you to butt in a conversation, to cut into a conversation. He kept cutting in on our conversation. It was really annoying. So you kept trying to have a conversation, and this person kept coming into the conversation and stopping you from speaking. But it can also be, as I said, to push in, and that's if people are in a queue and somebody cuts in, they jump in front. So this can be when you're standing in line for something. So he cut me in, he cut into the queue in front of me, for example, while I was waiting to pay. But it could also be in traffic, you know, oh, he cut in he cut into the traffic jam. It's normally quite rude. It's not nice behavior. The next one is to fall. So to fall apart means to be in such bad condition that things are breaking off. So for example, his car is falling apart. It's, almost not a car anymore. Could also be to have something, to have so many problems that is impossible to continue. So normally we're talking about relationships. So her marriage fell apart due to all their problems. We also have to fall back on someone or something. So to fall back on someone is to go to someone for help or support when you're in trouble. So she always falls back on her parents. To fall back on something is to use something, to have something that you can use when life is difficult. So he fell back on his savings when he lost his job. The last two phrasal verbs are using the verb to fill. So to fill in, as I mentioned, it's to add or to complete something. So can you fill in this form? Very, very common phrasal verb. The other one is fill up. So to become completely full. So for example, we need to fill up on petrol before we leave on our road trip. You can also use it with food. I am completely full up after that pasta. You can't eat any more. So I hope that helps. And I really want you to think of your own examples, to come up with your own examples so that you use these phrasal verbs, because they are really useful and they will help your level of English so much. In the meantime, I hope you will come back next week, next Friday at 10 a.m. BST, and you will find out the next 10 phrasal verbs. And if you like these videos, I hope you will click the like and the subscribe button so that you get notified when the next video appears. So in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week.